Yeah, so for this slide, we kind of want to talk about like our school's curriculum. And so like displayed on the slide, we kind of have a few books that we've read in like mostly our English classes. And so um like obviously you can like see that like these books are kind of like a very Eurocentric lens. So it's like they either have they're focused in on like white characters, or they have a very like narrow view of like what the black experience is. So like in To Kill a Mockingbird, it's like focused on a white lawyer who's trying to defend a black man who was like wrongly accused of like raping a white woman in the book. And so it kind of just like shows like, this like what this single story about like the black experience of like how he's just kind of struggling for his rights. So I think that kind of just like portrays a negative portrays like black people in like a negative way, because it's like you're not seeing like the black joy that they can experience as well. It's like a very just like a one-sided narrative. And so you just kind of wanted to talk about like how like learning the like reading these books and like learning this like very narrow curriculum, like how does that in fact affect our learning, and like how does that impact like how engaged we are in the classroom.
Similar to what Uche said, I just wanted to quickly point out the fact that all of those books that were displayed are required books. So those are books that all students within our schools, and I think even without throughout America, I know a lot of people read To Kill a Mockingbird and The Great Gatsby. So it's really important to show that this is what students are ingesting about themselves and of other people of Black ancestry.
Yeah, I just want to echo all of the points that Uche and Miracle have brought up. I think that when I think of these Eurocentric novels that we read in our curriculums, I think it brings up a TED Talk that was done by a brilliant Nigerian author. If I find the link, I'll drop it in the YouTube chat. But she talks about the danger of a single narrative and a single story. And when we think about how these Eurocentric novels sort of affect the way in which Black people are perceived in these institutions, that danger is really prevalent, because if you are only reading these novels that portray Black people in these stereotypical roles or characteristics, then you're not seeing the fact that Black people are so much more than these portrayals, and that Black people are not a monolith. So that in turn affects the way that our non-Black peers may interact with us, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, in the ways in which they may perceive us and the things they may say to us. And that sort of plays out with things such as microaggressions, which we will get into later.
Yes, thank you. And Marlon put a question in the chat that he didn't know that some of these texts were required. And I think, Uche, I'm not sure, I think you brought this up, but the fact that some of these texts are required, and I know when we were kind of doing our discussions prior to now, we were talking about how a lot of these stories kind of capitalize or kind of emphasize, Black pain and Black trauma. And sometimes like you literally have to be extremely intentional about, finding books that have, positive stories about, just Black people living their lives in, normal ways, positive ways that are not always tied to, slavery or some other thing that is like depressing to read about.